Interstellar mystery sparks outrage. NASA faces backlash over blurry interstellar visitor revealed as cover-up claims erupt online. NASA's much anticipated unveiling of new images of the mysterious interstellar object 3I Atlas has sparked a storm of controversy and a flood of accusations that the space agency is concealing the truth. Now let's explore this story from every angle on the AI
Welcome
podcast.
back to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at something that was supposed to be, a huge scientific win.
A triumph, yeah. We're talking about 3I Atlas.
Right, this interstellar visitor, an object from way outside our solar system. This was a massive opportunity.
It really was. The scientific community and, frankly, the whole world was sort of electrified by this.
Because it wasn't just another rock.
No, not at all. This was foreign material, a piece of a completely different star system, and we had proximity.
Which is key.
The object passed within 19 million miles of the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, and that orbiter carries the HiRISE camera.
One of the most powerful cameras we have anywhere in space.
Exactly. So to put that in perspective, 19 million miles is close. It's close enough to get seriously high-resolution pictures of something hurtling through our neighborhood.
So the expectation was, what?
Stunning. Definitive images.
That's what everyone was braced for, a slam dunk moment. But when NASA finally held their briefing to show the findings, it wasn't a slam dunk.
It was a detonation. It absolutely was. It just erupted into controversy, this immediate and pretty massive backlash.
With critics accusing the agency of a cover-up, of, downplaying some very, very unusual behavior.
And that's the conflict we're unpacking today. We're going to look at NASA's official classification that 3I Atlas is just a comet.
And then contrast that with the anomalies that skeptics, serious skeptics like Avi Loeb at Harvard have pointed out.
Right. We need to analyze why this one object caused such a dramatic emotional split. It's that classic tension, between an extraordinary claim and institutional caution.
Okay, so let's start right there at the presentation, because that's where the whole thing just went off the rails. They had the evidence, they had the camera. So what did they actually show us?
Well, the whole presentation was built around these images from the HiRISE camera. And given what that instrument can do, people were expecting clarity.
Structure, maybe. Something that looked like a real object.
And what we got was, well, it was the exact opposite.
Just
That's how everyone described it. A blurry, indistinct black and white speck. It had basically no visible structure. It looked like a grain of sand on a dark background.
But this is where it gets really interesting for me. The clearest image they shared wasn't even of the object itself.
No, it was a color visualization.
Of the chemical elements trailing behind it.
The exhaust trail, essentially. They showed us the signature of the wake, but they couldn't, or maybe wouldn't, show us a clear picture of the thing creating it.
And that, combined with the blurriness of the actual photos, that created a trust crisis instantly.
The reaction on social media was immediate and just explosive. The public felt cheated, or worse, that the good data was being hidden.
The criticisms were just flying. We saw people using the word gaslighting. Users were posting things like, what a waste of time, NASA's lying so bad, and demanding they release the entire unedited image archive.
I saw one that said, you've lost all credibility with this blurry hogwash. It was just a complete breakdown of public faith in their transparency.
So with this tidal wave of skepticism coming at them, NASA's response was, what?
To stand absolutely firm, they doubled down. Completely.
No room for doubt.
None. The statement came from the top. Amit Katria, one of the associate administrators, he just stated plainly that 3I Atlas is a comet. End of story.
But they had to explain the weird behavior, right? The anomalies people were seeing.
They did. Their justification was all about chemistry, not physics. They argued any strangeness, color, brightness, the outgassing was just due to a different chemical composition.
Because it's from another solar system.
Exactly. It formed around a different star, so it's got different ices, different elements, and it's going to behave differently when it gets close to our sun.
So it's an unusual comet, but it's still just a comet.
That's the official line. Nikki Fox, another associate administrator, she put it very clearly. She said, and I'm quoting here, "We haven't seen any techno-signatures or anything that suggests it's anything other than a comet."
Okay, let's pause on that word. Technosignatures. What does that actually mean for someone who doesn't follow this stuff every day?
A techno-signature is just evidence of technology, a sign of engineering.
So like a radio signal.
It could be a radio signal or some kind of impossible symmetry in its structure, or exhaust from a propulsion system, anything that points away from nature and toward intelligent design.
Right. But here's the moment that really set people off. During the press conference, someone asked directly, could it be an extraterrestrial craft?
And this is where it gets messy. Instead of a firm no, Fox gave this really vague answer.
The one that got clipped everywhere.
Yeah. She said, we love all the different science and all the hypotheses of what these things could be.
Which is a non-answer, a non-denial. And in a situation like this, that's just gasoline on the fire.
It confirms every suspicion. The public doesn't hear scientific caution. They hear concealment. The backlash wasn't really against the comet idea itself. It was against their reluctance to even talk about the alternatives.
And that reluctance is what opens the door for someone like Avi Loeb.
The loudest and most credible scientific critic of NASA's conclusion.
He's a Harvard astrophysicist. He runs the Galileo Project. He's not some fringe voice.
Not at all. And he is absolutely convinced the story is way more complicated than just a comet.
Right.
He and his team have documented, I think, 11 unexplained anomalies.
Oh, God.
And he insists that because of those irregularities and because it's interstellar, we have to investigate it deeply, not just slap a label on it and move on.
So let's get into the specifics. What are the top 3 anomalies he points to that just don't fit the comet model?
Okay, the first big one is its tail, the outgassing.
Right. A comet's tail should point away from the sun.
Directly away from the sun,
Right.
pushed by solar wind and radiation. But with 3I Atlas, the tail was observed pointing in an unusual kind of non-radial direction.
Which implies what?
It implies the outgassing isn't just a simple passive process. It suggests something non-uniform, maybe even a directed expulsion of material. NASA says weird chemistry, but for Loeb, it's a hint of non-natural behavior.
Maybe even maneuvering.
Possibly. Okay, the second one, a mysterious blue shift.
And a blue shift means it's moving toward us fast.
In simple terms, yes. He documented this strange blue shift when he was near the sun. That's not typical cometary behavior. It hints at a velocity or energy output that's really hard to explain with just passive physics.
And what's the third one? This seems to be the one everyone focuses on.
It is. It's the strongest piece of evidence. The trajectory changes.
Non-gravitational acceleration.
That's the term. Basically, it wasn't just following the path gravity dictated. Now, comets do this a little bit. Jets of gas push them around like tiny thrusters.
So what was different here?
The magnitude and timing of the changes. They just didn't align with the standard cometary model, even a model with weird chemistry.
So Loeb's argument is that if it's changing course in a way that outgassing can't explain,
Then something else is pushing it, something active. And when you're talking about an interstellar object, something else quickly starts to sound like controlled propulsion.
So the divide is clear. NASA says weird chemistry. Loeb says we can't rule out technology.
Precisely. And this whole scientific debate is happening right out in the open with a public that's already deeply skeptical.
And after that press event, the distrust just went through the roof. We saw those posts like, NASA, never a straight answer.
And the one you hear a lot, seems like they're trying really hard to convince us it's just a rock.
That's it. That's the feeling. It felt like they were trying too hard.
And while most mainstream astronomers do support NASA's conclusion, Avi Loeb is that one highly credentialed voice who just keeps pushing back.
He doesn't just criticize their data either. He criticizes their motives.
He does. He believes the establishment is avoiding risk to protect its reputation. He thinks scientists are terrified of the UFO stigma.
So it's professional self-preservation over pure scientific inquiry.
That's his accusation. He says this is about something that could affect humanity in a dramatic way, but that scientists are trying to act like they know the answer before the data comes in.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second. If you're NASA, isn't it the responsible thing to do? To default to the known explanation, a comet, until the evidence for something else is just overwhelming.
And that is the philosophical heart of it. Of course, you rule out the mundane first. That's good science. But Loeb's point is that when you have 11 anomalies, including non-gravitational acceleration, you've already passed mundane. He thinks refusing to even acknowledge the possibility is willful ignorance, dressed up as caution.
So you have the conventionalists who see themselves as maintaining rigor versus the skeptics who feel that rigor has become rigid.
An inability to acknowledge something truly new. And that divide is what fuels the public suspicion.
So as 3I Atlas heads back out of our solar system, NASA is sticking to its guns.
They're firm on the comet classification. But the public fascination and the critique from people like Loeb means this mystery is really far from settled in people's minds.
Yeah, what's left behind is this feeling that the data was, at best, inconclusive. And NASA's rush to a conventional answer just made everything more dramatic.
Which leads to a much bigger question, doesn't it? As we find more of these interstellar objects, and we will,
We know they'll have characteristics that are unfamiliar to us.
but what's the threshold for evidence? Is sticking to known physics, even when you see anomalies you can't explain, always the soundest practice?
Or, when an object from another star system moves in ways it shouldn't, is the refusal to investigate extraordinary possibilities just an act of self-preservation?
For many people, the mystery of 3I Atlas isn't defined by what NASA confirmed, but by what they seemed so determined to classify away. And you can be sure the next one will face even more scrutiny.
Okay, one question for you. Why did NASA release a blurry image when they had a high resolution camera only 19 million miles away? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.